Hey guys, Paul Morrow here again for Opsdesk.org doing a big news recap for Wednesday, 20 August. Here we go. So right now we have yet another mortgage fraud case that has come to light, and this one against Lisa Cook, who is an official with the Federal Reserve. Now, why is this one getting so much attention? Well, aside from the fact that it is the third, count them, mortgage fraud case against a prominent Democrat politico, she is a member of the Federal Reserve. And that is, of course, the entity that Donald Trump wants to lower interest rates. And Jerome Powell, the head of that agency, is being very recalcitrant. Trump wants all these people out. He wants his own people there so that he can manage that agency, manage the interest rates, and try to spur the economy. She can only be removed for cause. Now, if she's convicted, that's certainly cause, but maybe indictment's even enough to remove her for cause. We have to see. But that's why this is getting so much attention. But there's a lot of moral equivalency going on online about, well, Donald Trump did it too. He was found liable in his civil case that Tish James brought of a mortgage fraud. This is the pot calling the kettle black and all that stuff. Nonsense. There is a key distinction between the accused here, that is Lisa Cook, and the other accused, Tish James and Adam Schiff. And what Donald Trump was even accused of, and of course found liable because it was a very gamed jury. I don't care what anybody says. It was a bogus case that never should have been brought, and nobody else would have been found guilty of it. And I'll tell you something else. The appeal should have been settled months ago, but they're dragging on that, again, just because it's Donald Trump. Here's the distinction between and among the cases. In the case of Donald Trump, he is accused of overvaluing his properties so as to get a bigger loan. That's really it. The banks did their own investigation after Donald Trump did that valuation and applied for the loans. They agreed and gave him the money. And then he paid it back. There's no victim here. There's no crime from where I sit. Really, it's a contract. If Donald Trump wants to value his properties at X, and the banks who do these investigations all the time do the investigation and say, yeah, we agree it's X, and then they enter into this agreement, and Donald Trump pays it back. What is it to Tish James, the Attorney General of New York State? She's got to be kidding. This case never would have been brought against anybody else, and it shouldn't have been brought. But that's the distinction, because in the case of Cook, Schiff, and Tish James, those are different cases because there's an interest rate involved. Donald Trump had nothing to do with the interest rate. In these three cases, the three accused claimed a property that was not their principal residence as the principal residence, meaning they get a lower interest rate. And that means they pay back less money to the bank than they would have if it were not their principal residence. Now, these cases are very difficult to beat because it's just paper. You pull the loan application, you pull what they contended, and then you just got to show they were lying. Okay, this is not their principal residence. Tish James has real problems because she claimed a building in Virginia was her principal residence so as to get, allegedly, a better interest rate. And the problem here is that in the case of James and in the case of this Lisa Cook, Fannie Mae is implicated, and that's a taxpayer-funded program, which means not only could the banks be arguably out money because they should have got a higher interest rate paid, but the taxpayers of America are out the money. We're the ones who are supposed to get paid back at a higher interest rate because we're lending that money. That's the program. And they've gamed that system to pay us back less. We are out the money, and so as a result, it's a federal crime, allegedly. We'll see how it goes. But that's the distinction. And when they try to say it's the same as what Donald Trump did, you got to call BS because it's not. And that's why these are criminal cases. Donald Trump's was civil. That's how weak it was. They didn't even bring it criminally. Okay? And Donald Trump's almost certainly is going to be thrown out on appeal, but they're dragging ass on that, of course, because it's Trump. But that's the distinction between these cases, and we shouldn't lose sight of it. I think all three are going to go to indictment, and they're all going to have trouble. And, of course, Schiff has now a legal defense fund, more or less what Tish James did. It's totally bogus. They should have to pay for their own defense. Lastly, guys, tune in tomorrow, Fox and Friends. Thursday morning, 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. hour. I got an amazing interview with the chief of police of Moscow, Idaho, relative to the Kohberger case, which is still very much in the news, and I think it's going to remain in the news due to some of the stuff the chief told me. I know that case inside and out, and I was amazed at some of the stuff that we brought to light. Tune in. Hope to see you there. Fox and Friends tomorrow morning. Paul Morrow for the Ops Desk.